Okay. Bum 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 bum. This is your Tuesday night football. Bum 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 bum.
Should have taught my do-rag before we did this.
I should have. We should have figured out what a news song sounds like before we got into this. This
So yeah, you only know
is.
NFL songs.
This is. I only know NFL songs only. This is Cameos on a Tuesday night. I am Oseanacy. This is Samsahn. We are back at it after a week off. Talking to you everything comic books, anime, movies, and everything else. Everything in between. We're going to switch up the formatting here a little bit. We typically come at you guys with like a full deep dive, debrief on one specific show or movie. But we had a lot of fun last week going through like San Diego Comic-Con news, or 2 weeks ago, doing San Diego Comic-Con stuff. So Samsung here thought it would be a good idea to, give you guys the debrief on the news, and I couldn't agree more. Like, let's catch you guys up to speed. We're gonna be doing a mostly spoiler-free recap on everything going on right now, but if we do hit on something that particularly dives a little bit deeper than you might want to know, we will definitely call that out. But we're just going to be covering the news in general. What do we want to call this segment? Our title is C.A.M.E.E.News.
C.A.M.E.E.News.
But there's got to be something more clever we could do with like an acronym or something.
I don't know. I don't have any. Hold on, let me think. I need synonyms for.
Like I was trying to think of like a clever like replacement for news, so like journalism, or I don't know. There's got to be a way we can finagle this in to these episodes. We're pretty good with the acronyms.
My reading score on the SATs was the lowest. So I
think mine was actually the highest. As long as it's not math, we're good. But
it's up to you. My math is the highest, so it's up to you. I can't think of anything. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out what this segment's going to be called, or if we even want to keep doing it. But let's catch everybody up since last time we talked. A lot has happened since San Diego Comic-Con. We have seen a lot in the news. So
a lot of good news. I'll start with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is very funny to me. So one of the things that we found out is that Ben Affleck is in Aquaman 2 as Batman. So kind of thought he was done. Also kind of thought that whenever, Flashpoint comes out, all this is supposed to be like wiped clean.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I assumed that, Twilight Batman was the future, but I remember there not being plans to roll him in. So to me, that was big news, hearing that we still get another sighting of Batfleck.
Right,
thrown in there,
because he was supposed to be like done after this. Was that like confirmed, or was that just a rumor that after Justice League, he was no longer going to be a part of the DC cinematic universe?
Yeah, and I think originally he was supposed to be the what's it called? He was supposed to be in the Batman movie that they made, and then they got I want to call him Cedric Diggory. I don't remember his real name, and I'm sorry. I remember characters. So that Cedric Diggory was doing, and then they redid it to have him in there instead of Ben Affleck, because he's like, yeah, I'm done with these things, from what I remember. So hearing that he's going to be in Aquaman 2 that's pretty cool. So we'll see. See what happens with that.
More of the same
see if
cast.
That movie's good.
Well,
yeah, I don't think Amber Heard is in it though. I think.
Oh really?
I don't think so.
DC is misogynistic. How are they going to keep Ezra Miller around after? Speaking of news, that dude cannot catch a break.
He needs to chill. He can't chill. He's wilding.
For those of you who don't know, this was actually like just yesterday. Speaking of DC news, Ezra Miller is being charged with a burglary that happened back in May for one of his neighbors in Vermont, which is where he lives. He's literally causing trouble on like the polar opposite sides of the United States, like the upper Northeast and then Hawaii. Like the only other places you got to go is like Alaska and then like Texas, and then he'll have done the full circuit of causing fucking misdemeanors across America. He did some burglary stuff. Did you see the stuff that they were accusing him of stealing?
Nah, I didn't even look at it. I was like, this.
It was just some like bottles of wine. It was alcohol from a neighbor's house, but they have like video evidence that links him to the crime. So what that means is like somebody's Ring doorbell definitely caught my man like jumping through a window and taking 2 bottles of Pinot Grigio and walking back to his fucking farmhouse.
For what? What's the point?
Because he's, I'm sorry, I'm saying he, that's disrespectful, you know, set the person's pronouns aside. They, Ezra Miller, they, like...
Oh, I didn't know Ezra had pronouns, my bad.
Ezra's a they.
Well,
they're just fucking wild, man. Like, they're no... chill. Like, stop. You got it. You got the world in the palm of your hand, man. You're like the Flash. Stop. So that's not a good look for them.
Not at all.
I am just kind of surprised that like all of this stuff that Ezra Miller is doing is not enough to get the movie scrapped. But then you want to talk about the movie that did get scrapped since last.
Well, first of all, Scoob Holiday Hunt got scrapped, and that's the one that we were really waiting for. But Batgirl did get scrapped. And Batgirl, first of all right, just to like level set, right? Batgirl was like $90 million, and it was made to go straight to streaming services. It wasn't intended to go to like theaters or whatever. And then Flashpoint is like $200 million. So they're not going to scrap a $200 million movie, regardless of how much Ezra Miller is wilding. I think this is just their Ezra's last film. Like, all right, we're done with you. But yeah, they scrapped Batgirl. We've seen a couple things from the film, and I think we know why they scrapped Batgirl.
It's batting time.
If that was a real quote,
like taken off of like one of the cameras that were like up in the studio that had the script up, said it's batting time.
It was absolutely hilarious, and I see why they scrapped that movie.
What?
That would have been absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. But at this point, I want to see it because, like, you know how there are like movies that are so bad they're amazing.
Yeah, but I don't see any of those, like, with the rare exception. Like, did you ever see Cats? Cats was supposed to be one of those movies, so there you go. Like, who wants to fucking see this movie?
I did not see Cats the movie.
That's like supposed to be notoriously like one of the worst of the worst, the best of the worst. I don't want to see bad movies. Like, I got enough.
If I don't have to leave the house, I'm gonna sit back, relax.
I don't have time for all that, man. There's not enough hours in the day for me to be watching canceled DC projects. It took like an internet petition to get me to watch
Morpheus.
I never watched Morbius. I never did. Never will. No, to watch the Snyder Cut. Just because I was like, wow, like half of the internet is up in arms to get this like Snyder Cut released.
Terrible movie released.
I guess I better go watch it. And boy, there's 4 hours of my life that probably could have been spent better doing something. I don't know. Like getting a pedicure fair. Or something else. I don't know.
That's fair.
So that's where I'm at. Like, there's enough stuff out there. I don't need to see their canceled stuff. It's just kind of wild that $90 million Warner Brothers is like, forget about it. Just like, it was done. The movie was like done. They were doing screen tests, which means that they had already done like the special effects for a bunch of this like movie to like, they don't do that. They don't scrap something when it's in like audience testing unless it's
the audience hated
that bad.
The movie. I want to be one of the test audiences. Like, I just want to be in there.
You got to sign some serious NDAs. You never be on cameos again.
That's I'll never say anything. You'll never know, but I would know. Like you'll be like, oh, they canceled.
In a very
this movie.
successful podcast Twitch show cannot do it. It's a conflict of interest.
NDA only lasts 5 years, so I'll just wait, and on the hour, I'll come out like, all right, listen.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get another hashtag release the cat cut. And we'll get the Catwoman movie that nobody asked for.
Look at you! You did it so bad you forgot.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
There's a Black Cat or movie coming from Sony. We'll talk about that in the future when they have more information.
I was just thinking about the other bad DC movie of Catwoman with Halle Berry.
Yeah, that's absolutely terrible.
Batgirl was supposed to be Rosario Dawson, right? That's her, or it was going to be her. The actress?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I saw the pictures and it looked like Rosario Dawson.
Oh, it's not Rosario Dawson.
Sorry, it's not? It's just somebody who looks like her?
No. I don't want to say that this Hispanic Afro-Latina woman looks like Rosario Dawson. I don't know who she is. I don't remember.
Honestly, I just looked at this one picture and I thought that was Rosario Dawson. No, like I just kind of like assumed it in my head the whole time.
This is not Rosario
somebody
Dawson
called Leslie Grace.
Yes, and I forgot what Leslie Grace is.
My bad. Just in that one picture, she looks so much like Rosario Dawson. I'm about to get canceled like shit.
Yeah, you're gonna get canceled. Not all.
Okay, literally half of her face is covered up. I'm pretty sure Rosario Dawson is like not Latinx.
Rosario Dawson?
Yeah. Yes, I'm about to stop saying anything else.
I'm sure Rosario Dawson's probably Dominican too. I don't remember where Rosario Dawson's from. But she's definitely...
she's American actress.
Yeah, but she's Latinx, man. Not like just straight... Oh, she's Puerto Rican. That's what she is.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Okay. She's Puerto Rican.
We can't
from New York.
We can't air this
same
episode.
As Leslie. It's fine. They're not both from the Bronx, so you're good.
Look at me, I'm learning new stuff.
Yeah. All right, what else? Oh, speaking of Latinx people in comic roles, Anthony Ramos. We got the first look of him in his Ironheart role. He's going to be playing the Hood in Ironheart. And there's like a rumor that Ironheart's going to be like a mix of magic and tech too, which is good. So, read you the caption of
you said it. You said it. So Ironheart.
Oh,
Ironheart's going to be a mix of tech and sorcery. And I wish we had our boy Arion in the chat right now, because Doom is eternal.
Yes. We'll see what happens. But allegedly, it's like a rumor. But we both know like Doom is like
Kang is the misdirect confirmed.
I'm gonna ignore you. We both know Doom. Doom does a lot of stuff with chaos magic in the comics. Like Doom, anything that like gets you power, Doom knows about it. So I think this will be good. So I think the Ironheart show, I'm getting more and more excited for it as I see more news come out about what we can expect from it.
We should expect to meet her in a couple months.
Yes,
Black
Ironheart.
Panther.
Yep, Ironheart is in Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume now I gotta check the schedule, because I don't think the Ironheart show comes out before Black Panther.
No, it's way later. I don't even remember if it was on the wasn't her show called Iron Wars?
No.
That's another thing?
That should be with Don Cheadle, as War Machine, and maybe Ironheart comes in later in that. But I know the Ironheart's on the docket. I just don't remember when the series is supposed to be released. So,
I'm looking at Phase 5. We got Quantum Mania,
okay.
Secret Invasion, Guardians, Echo, Loki, Marvels, Blade, Ironheart.
Mm.
Fall
Uh,
2023
so we'll get our
is
first look. We'll get our first look at Ironheart
next
in
year. Probably
yeah. No,
around.
this year. This year.
Oh, we'll get our first look this year, and then our
Yeah.
full shebang on her about a year later. Which is
Yeah.
actually funny because it's kind of ironic because like when we saw Black Panther for the first time, that was in Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't think we got a Black Panther movie until like a year later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like passing the torch back and forth.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
What else?
What else we
Oh,
got?
Gian Giancarlo Esposito. He's been in talks with Marvel that he announced, and then the potential characters that he'll be playing is Professor X, Doctor Doom. Um,
I need to see this man.
there were the boys, uh, the Vought CEO, Breaking Bad,
Right.
Do the Right Thing, School Days. I know him from like Fresh, the classic.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes. So either he wants to play Professor X, but it could
I
be
did see that.
Doctor Doom, Professor X. There were two other characters as well that I forgot that it was reported that he could be playing, but we'll see. Regardless of what he's doing, he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
I love him in every role that I've ever seen him in. So I'm very excited that he's going to be joining the MCU.
I first off, that rumor has been picked up on multiple news outlets. I'm looking at something
Mm-hmm.
from IGN right now. They don't
Mm-hmm.
typically put stuff out there without at least vetting it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that he has said that he wants to play Professor X.
Professor
That'd be
X.
cool. I'd be down with that.
Mm-hmm.
He fits. I feel like he could pull that off. That'd be a cool. That'd be a really cool casting, in my opinion. I would wonder if they like wanted to. We turn the table on you and cast him as somebody else, like Doctor Doom or somebody. I don't know that he would play a good Doom. Doom is like kind of like built, right? Like Doom is not like Esposito is not a built dude. Like it's
But
just
also,
not his stature.
He's older too.
You're right.
I think
and Doom
it'd
is
be
supposed to
better-
be in his like mid 30s,
whatever
early
age,
40s.
whatever age Rita is what the age of Doom is. They're like former rivals with former colleagues. They should be around the same age.
Right.
So I don't think he'd be playing Doom. He could play Professor X. Maybe he could play a Magneto. But I doubt that. I don't know how they're going to do the whole like Holocaust story.
They're gonna have to do some serious retconning thing.
Yeah,
but I do think that it would make sense for him to be Professor X or Magneto, because the way that I see that they're gonna have to do this like retcon thing that they're gonna do with Wanda and Quicksilver is they're gonna have to be old. They're gonna have to get introduced old. We're not gonna get the young Professor X and Magneto unless we do some crazy stuff like throw in some incursion and it literally pulls in them like young, but that it's just gonna divert so much from like the source stuff, like the whole like they would have to build up the Xavier School for Gifted Children and stuff like that, and I don't know. I can't really wrap my head around them going that route in introducing young Xavier and Magneto again.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be closer to like I think we might have talked about this maybe privately. I don't even know if we talked about this on the stream, but like they bring him in from the incursion, right? So now you already have your established team of X-Men in the comics, right? Most of the mutants are like together. They might have this is like Utopia somewhere. I forgot where Utopia is at this point, but they all work together at this point. So now your new X-Men are like all together, working together already. They're already established, and then they probably do an Avengers versus X-Men type thing at some point in the MCU. Like they, have a big fight, and then like you don't have to revamp the backstories for the X-Men.
Right.
So you just like here they are. Magneto still has his like Holocaust like experience from his universe, and he's just over here now. All that stuff is already set, and you just have your team. This is probably the easiest way to do it. But whatever role he's going to play, uh, Giancarlo Esposito, he's going to be amazing because he's great. I've never seen him be bad in any role that I've seen him play, and I've
Yeah.
watched him in movies since like from like the '90s. You know what I mean, or before.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, shows, everything. That man is amazing, and he's one of the best parts of The Boys to me. So
Yeah.
I love the way he plays that character. Like
He
he's
plays
really
that silent villain role like
good.
really well to a T. Mm-hmm.
So I honestly I kind of hope he will continue to play a villain. I feel like everything from everything we've seen him in recently, he's played a villain. I hope he's not typecast. Like we'll talk about Sandman later. But
Okay.
the guy that played Tywin Lannister seems typecast to me at this point. So I hope Giancarlo is not typecast. But I also do like him as a villain. So
Yeah, has he been a good
we
guy
shall
in
see.
anything? Like
Uh,
notable? I mean, he was even like a character in one of the Far Cry video games, and he was a villain in
he's a
that.
villain.
He was like fucking
He's the voice of
Fidel
yeah.
Castro, basically, in that.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't think of any time. Even like he's like been in a lot of Spike Lee movies. Even in those, he wasn't like the one role. He was just a guy. He was like one of the friends. The other ones, he was definitely the antagonist. Uh, so now that I think about it, I can't think of him in any
the
like
Mandalorian. He's a villain in the Mandalorian.
yeah villain in Mandalorian. This man just comes through as a villain in every single thing that he performed in.
Hey, man. I mean,
I'm trying to think.
I'm going back through his like filmography.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
I haven't seen a ton of.
I've really I've seen a lot of these movies, and most of them he was a villain.
Hey, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's typecasting isn't necessarily a negative thing if he likes playing the roles. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, he's good at it.
some
So that's
people
fine.
just do things a certain way and they're cool with it. I doubt he would have agreed to be the bad guy in all this stuff if he didn't mind doing it. So,
Yeah,
um,
whatever.
but it will be interesting if he gets like a notable achievement being like one of the best guys, Professor
Yeah,
X.
yeah.
Yeah, but
We'll see.
if he goes Doom, he'll definitely continue the bad guy
Villain.
trend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but neither of us thinks he'll be doomed. So
yeah.
we'll see
No,
what happens.
I don't. All right, what
Okay.
else? What else we got? What else is on the slate?
A lot of anime releases.
Yeah.
We got another Chainsaw Man trailer.
Hmm.
And what is this? Mappa is doing this. Um, so that is going to be an amazing looking anime. I
Chainsaw
don't
Man.
personally, yeah, I don't personally like the manga that much. Like I liked it starting out, and then it kind of like trailed off, right? Uh, but it's going to look beautiful.
The trailers
Highly,
for it look absolutely wild.
yes,
I mean, it's like not just a dude with like chainsaws for hands or something crazy like that. This shit is like literally erupting out of his head, and
mhm,
that's like the most tame part of the trailer. Like
mhm,
it's crazy.
yes, and I love gory stuff. Uh, like that, it's going to look beautiful, but like it's going to look gory, but like oh these intros, oh they
Mm-hmm.
look amazing. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited just to see the anime. Uh, if you have kids, don't let your kids watch Chainsaw Man. Like
Don't let your kids
seriously,
watch anime, man.
so
You
that
never know
too.
what you're gonna get.
But
Never know what you're gonna get.
this is definitely one of the ones that your children do not need to watch.
It's called Chainsaw Man, so like if you're
Yeah,
letting
he's
your kids watch something called Chainsaw Man, you should know
reevaluate.
what you're in for. Yeah. Yeah, you should know what
Yeah.
you're signing up for. Um Live action Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, I it comes out August 20th. or at least for American audiences. Uh, all
Nobody
the
heard
Full Metal,
anything about this. Like
yeah,
zero
nah,
fanfare. That is terrible.
it looks
Terrible.
terrible. But all the other ones are also terrible to me.
Oh, is
So
there a
I just
trailer for it?
no. So you know how I was literally just watching Netflix. I was watching Sandman, and then it showed like, oh yeah, coming soon, and then it was the Full Metal Alchemist, Legend of Scar, or the Revenge of Scar movie,
All right.
which will follow like Scar's like whole plan when he was like attacking the Elric brothers or why he was doing it. I assume. When Scar is a great character in Full Metal Alchemist, it's just there's never been a good live action version of the Full Metal Alchemist story. Uh,
Well, the
I'll watch it, but
2017
no, that was
Netflix.
no. I remember looking at it like there's like a scene where like
I forgot
uh,
all about this, to be
it's so
honest with you.
it was like less gluttony and like maybe envy were like just sitting in the middle of the room all on like one little block for some reason just to look menacing, and I turned it off. I can't I can't watch this. It just looks so corny.
I forgot all about this. I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
lie to you.
it's not it's not it's
It
not
looks
good.
like they got Alphonse's armor right.
Yeah, they always do. The Alphonse CG is where a lot of the money went.
Yeah, all the budget.
Let's get this get this suit right.
All the budget.
Uh,
Okay, well, that's
yeah, don't worry about
we'll
that.
see about
But you,
that.
you should look out for this. So they announced a new anime coming, and the anime is for Kaiju number 8.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite manga right now.
Okay.
Uh, they didn't have any like scenes or anything from the anime, so they're still working on it.
Hmm.
So I assume sometime next year is when we'll
Looks
get
really
it.
early in the development.
Yeah, but it'll be really good. That's a great story. This
Okay.
one of the things I love reading right now. So definitely look out for that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that one.
Oh, it's very good, and it's like you ever seen Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
Yeah, just monsters coming out.
Sure have.
But instead of like giant robots, it's like people in suits fighting the kaiju. But then the main character somehow can become a kaiju. He doesn't know how, but he retains control. So he becomes a kaiju and he can fight. He can fight against kaiju, but he has to do it in secret
So like
because
Attack on Titan meets Gundam Wing meets
uh,
Pacific Rim.
he meets Power Rangers.
Meets Power
Uh,
Rangers.
yeah, because it's like the Defense Force,
They
right?
do
So they're
Morphin
all in
Time.
suits.
It's
They
Morphin
no,
Time.
it's not. It's Batten time.
It's Batten Time.
No, they're just all in suits. They put on when the kaiju's appear. They put on their like suits. Gantz. It's like Gantz suits, and it like
Mm.
lets them fight at a higher level. But you got to train to be able to unlock the full potential of your suit. So that's how it works.
Okay.
But it's really good. So I
That
think
was
it's
like
gonna be a
Pacific
great.
Rim. They had to like connect with their suit and shit. There was like
Yeah, but
some.
no. Out like the Pacific Rim, they had the large mech
Uh
suits.
huh. Uh huh.
Kaiju 8 is like they put on they put on suits and then they go fight themselves. Like they grab a gun while they're wearing the suit and they just go fight, or they'll grab a sword, whatever weapon they have. They're
So
also
they're like
kaiju.
human-sized suits. They're not.
Yeah, they're no,
Oh,
they're
okay.
not giant mechs. They're just in suits
How are they fighting kaiju in like suits that
'Cause
are like 9 feet tall?
This the Gant suit. Like the Gant suit unlocks your like strength and makes you stronger. You can do all this stuff while you're wearing it. It's the same thing for like the
Okay.
Defense Force and Kaiju 8.
Okay. Okay.
So that's how it works. It's really good though.
Okay.
Highly recommend it. Uh, and last anime thing. Besides like the Dragon Ball superhero movie comes out the 19th,
Yep.
which is next week. So definitely gonna go see that. Might talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll see. But we also get Tower of God season 2. We got an official trailer.
And
You fell off. but-
I realized that I think I watched all the first season of the anime,
Mhm.
but it ends so early on in the manga that I'm like I was looking at the trailer for season 2, and I was like, didn't we already cover all this? Because like that shit happened so early in the manga, like with what's her name, the blonde chick,
Rachel.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rahel. I was like, what this, like, how did we not get to this in season 1? And I think
They moved extra slow to me in season 1.
yeah.
Because I think with the trailer is like a recap of all the stuff you saw.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
essentially what the trailer is.
Because I
And
was
then
like, man, I swear to God, we covered some of this. Like, we musta.
yeah, all that is what was covered, and it just the
Okay.
trailer ends with like the time skip in the future.
Right.
Because as
Which
soon as all that
is,
stuff happens, I won't spoil it, but as soon as all that stuff happens,
that's where I did not get to in the manhwa.
Mhm.
Was the time skip, but
That's when it starts to get a lot better.
okay. Yeah, it
But
starts
then
pretty slow in the manga too.
it's extra long, so it's so long. But yeah, that's it. Anime wise. Oh, no, also Zatch Bell too is going to come out, so I'm excited for
I
that.
don't know what the hell that even is.
I'll send you some things about Zatch Bell.
Okay.
It's
Is
very
this
good.
the glow up? The glow up is
Yeah,
okay.
the glow up is insane.
Okay.
And I think that's it for news. Everything that we've been talking about and pondering that we've seen.
I want to
Yeah,
put. I
that's
want to
it.
get some like news sound effects for when we do this. Like coming to you live from the nation's capital.
Oh yeah, and sorry for the chat. Yes, Gantz is a lot more rapey than Kaiju 8. So it's Gantz
Jesus.
without the yeah. Just, Gantz is like very dark, but that was the easiest way to explain how those suits work. If you've seen
Right.
Gantz, you know how the suits work. That's what it is in
Skip
Kaiju
Gantz. Got it.
8. Yeah, do not.
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to talk about that's been happening from a news perspective and anime related is the reception to the like One Piece. So you and I had been talking about how
Mhm.
like awesome the animation had been, and for what it, like the credit, like there's clearly a lot of production that's been going into this like Wano arc where it's all coming to a head, and you know Luffy, Kaido banging heads, and like they've been putting a lot of money into that, which is great, and we love to see
All
it.
the money. It looks better than some movies.
But a lot of
Seriously.
people are like, what the hell? They're going like absolutely overboard. They've like gone from like cutting corners to like doing way too much extra. And
Yeah.
I've been watching some of the fight scenes because you said that, you know, you've been turning in to watch them. So I was watching some of these clips, and some of
Mhm.
these threads on Reddit are just talking about like, how do you go from this? And they show this like crisp, clean, like still that Oda drew where like there's pure white background. You see Luffy like uppercut Kaido, and it's like just beautiful. And then they show the thing from the anime, and it's like Luffy and Kaido are literally like flying through the sky with like
Yeah.
tails behind them. I'm like, why is Luffy Super Saiyan right now? Like they went way too far in the opposite direction. I think there's a lot of division on how that's being received. I myself, I don't know. Had I not seen the stuff in the manga, I'd be like, all right, this is fine, I guess. But like, you know, if you're gonna try to respect the source material, why the hell is Luffy flying around, and why are these petals coming in out of nowhere? Like, they're trying
Yeah.
to do some stuff. I just think they're doing too much.
The pedals were fine. My issue was like, and I was talking to my friend about this earlier. Actually, everything it looks like Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're literally watching Dragon Ball Z. They got like they're charging up, right? It's like, yeah, this is too much at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Just way too much. Like, chill out. You can get the same result with like minimal aura showing and like
Less
the
is
punch.
more. Less is
Yeah,
more.
less is more, right?
Mhm.
And I think like I went back to like when Whitebeard and Roger clash with the Conqueror's hockey infused like weapons and they don't touch, and I was like, that scene is beautiful. That's all you need, like right there. Uh, and then the red rock when Luffy first punches Kaido with red rock, that's beautiful. and now they're kind of just extra.
I
Way too much.
I was appreciating people were like, imagine these artists spending like 6 hours working on this perfectly drawn scene, and then the special effects people just come in and just fucking throw like all of the After Effects on it. They just like put that like artwork into like After Effects and just massacre it. I encourage anybody out there that wants to see like a good fight scene choreographically and then just kind of ruined by special effects, because like that can happen. I mean, they clearly did a lot of good work on like the art. Like they're drawn really well, like it's really high quality like characters, but then they just are fucking going crazy with like the neon paint on every scene. It's too much.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's find that middle ground. Let's bring it back. I don't want to discourage the effort that has been put into these episodes, because
I love the effort.
You want to see more.
Episodes.
You want to see more of it.
Yeah, but also some of the fans are like doing the most. Like they were like sending threatening messages to the animators because they
fans are always going to be the worst.
Chill.
Yeah. Let's put it in the realm of like, this is just a TV show. Again, I want to be appreciative that at least we're not getting rushed ass episodes that are only 10 minutes long, because they're trying to crank these things out on a timeline. Like, let's encourage in the right way, in a healthy way. Let's respect it, because God knows these angry neckbeards couldn't do any better. So, yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah, yes, Smooth Carlito. This is a spoiler-free episode because Oseanacy has not finished Sandman. I finished it. Honestly, I'm letting it play in the background. That's how much I love it, because I want Netflix to continue to see, like, they're still watching.
Oh my God, they're coming back and watching it again.
Yeah, get all the hours.
You're trying to pump up their numbers.
Exactly.
Those are rookie numbers. All right. Well, let's transition into talking about like maybe the biggest news of the last week and a half. Sandman, the kind of unexpected hit that I think a lot of people were cautiously optimistic about this one. I know I was one of those, especially after Cowboy Bebop, and some other recent titles didn't live up to the hype. We'll spoiler-free coverage of that, just for those of you who haven't caught up like myself. I'm at the very end of it. Samsung has watched the whole thing through, apparently at least once. But, hey, spoiler alert for the rest of this podcast. The shit was great. So far, I'm vibing with it. It's weird. It's wild.
I love it.
It's not like a typical show, right? Like it's not what you would, I don't know. That's kind of what I like about it. Is it doesn't follow like a formula, Like I think that the flow and the rhythm of the show, when I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense as it's like interpreted from a comic book. Like it doesn't follow like the same beats, But
I will say, like, whoever the showrunner is, they very, very clearly read the comic, read all the source material, right? Like I went, like one is like beautifully written. After I watched it, I went and looked at the source material because I was going to read it after I finished this. My friends, like, shout out to Add Something and Take Greek. They've been telling me to read Sandman for years, and I like to ignore them, so I just never did it.
It's good. I read it. Read it like 10 years ago. It's been a while, but
so whoever did the show running for this definitely read the comic. That's number one. And then two, the CG in this is like beautiful. I was watching this like, this looks amazing. This looks like this looks better than like some movies I've seen. Like this is ridiculous.
Unfortunately, not saying a lot these days. But I know what you mean. It does.
It's beautiful. And then like I appreciate that the story's so good, and one thing they did very well was like do this whole story without like mixing in the other like DC universe characters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I won't spoil anything, right? But for example, like Martian Manhunter and Mister Miracle at some point talk to Morpheus.
In the
Uh,
comics.
in the comics, yeah, they talk to Morpheus, so he goes to meet with him, and then to do this in the show, the show he doesn't meet with him, right? But he still goes along that same path that he needs to go along to get to where he's trying to go and what he's trying to find. Like that's so well done to me. Or like uh Etrigan shows Morpheus around, right? Etrigan, if you don't know, is Jason Blood. He's like a man who turns to a demon because it's a curse on him, blah blah blah, all this stuff, right? And instead of it being Etrigan, they use like the guardian, the gatekeeper of hell, who Morpheus does meet in the comic too. It's just Etrigan does lead him around. The gatekeeper does, and it's just those little details are like really good to like keep it going, or like not making Constantine a man, keeping like Lady Constantine throughout the whole thing, and you still get literally the same story element. It's just the ancestor of Lady Constantine is another woman, Constantine. It's the same actress too, right? She looks exactly like her. It's beautiful. I love that.
I think one thing that they have done that I've seen that you've called out is they're able to dance around these elements that they can't pull in. So it is like Sandman is a DC property technically. It's part of their extended
Yes.
universe. It's not like Sandman and Superman are flying around together on the regular, but they do technically exist in the same sphere of reality usually. But obviously DC's not going to give out their rights to like Batman and Ezra Miller's problematic Flash and all the other shit. But
Or Etrigan and all these characters they probably need for something else later.
But the showrunners, to your point, are able to like finagle all those complexities of that relationship into a point where like me not even knowing that like I mean I know I read these comics like 10 years ago, but again it's been a long time. I didn't remember him having anything to do with the Martian Manhunter or any of these other DC folks, and it didn't even like hit me. I was like nothing felt missing from what I've seen this far. So
Even like other, I can't, I don't want to spoil it, but they're like other heroes that like come in, they switch stuff around, like they take actual story elements, switch it so it makes perfect sense to do that way, and then go forth. Like it's so great to me. They also like switch a nightmare, like they combine two nightmares into one and make a new one up, and it's totally fine because story context wise, it still does the same thing that it did in the comics. I think it's just different reasons, and it works out like perfectly.
yeah,
It's really good.
I think one of the things a lot of people were worried about was the casting. What do you think about our boy,
He's
Mr.
great.
Mr. Morpheus?
I love the entire all the casting in this. Tywin Lannister plays like
Speaking of typecast,
he's typecast. He's a shitty father once again.
a shitty like diplomat, royalty, posh father. He is a piece of shit father. You're right.
And all he wanted was his original son back. He starts all of this. He wanted his firstborn son back. That's the whole reason he was trying to capture Death. Wasn't able to do it. He captured Dream instead, which is Morpheus, the main character. Oh, and that's another thing. I'm all over the place. But Desire, I love the way Desire looks. Like the way like they do the realms, it looks so good. And for those that don't know, like they're the endless children, whatever they're called.
The endless, yeah.
The endless, yeah. And it's a group of gods, and in order is Destiny, Death, Dream, the prodigal son. I'm not going to say the prodigal's name. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. And then Desire and Delirium, or like
Despair.
Well, yeah, Despair. So there's the six of them. And so Desire's like a main antagonist for Dream. And it's just they're just siblings. Desire, like they do this so well. Like Desire has no gender, right? Desire just like floats through whatever gender they they need for whoever desires them, right? It's done so well. Like, oh man, I can't say enough good things about this show. Like, I really love this show.
It's
The
like,
Corinthian's good. Like,
yeah, he's a really great actor.
Fiddler Green's
I
good.
remember the Corinthian not being as predominant in the comics as he is. He's kind of like a big antagonist in the show. I don't remember him being like a
See,
lead bad guy in the show or in the
I think
comics.
no, he's like to me he's not like a lead bad guy. It's like he has his role, right?
Hmm.
And he's like he's in it, and then he's not, and then he's back in it. But it follows the comic like almost exactly when he comes back in, and it
Yeah.
like all makes sense like why he's there. But then like you still get like you know how Dream is like he goes on his quest, he talks to his sister, he does all this stuff in between like actually going to take care of the Corinthian and like
Hmm.
all the other stuff he has to do. It is not like constant action. It's like great story. There's like a whole episode where there's no action. It's just conversation
Hmm.
and like story going on. Like I can't say enough good about this. I think the only thing I hate is like this little Jed kid. He's getting on my nerves because, but I won't spoil why. Like he just when you watch it and you see what Jed is doing, you're like, come on, son, you
And
gotta
maybe
chill.
Patton Oswalt, you're not a huge fan of Patton
Oh
Oswalt.
yeah, because I don't like Patton Oswalt's voice, right? And maybe it's because I'm used to him in Modoc. If you never seen Modoc on Hulu, Patton Oswalt is the voice of Modoc. It's like a comedy
Right.
about the Modoc and the and AIM, what advanced idea
Hmm.
mechanics, whatever they're called. So and like it's like sometimes Patton is serious, and then sometimes he's like fuck it, and then it's like, come on, son, like you just ruined my mood now. But
It's
not
a
that I can say he's bad. It's just weird to me.
he starts to grow. He was starting to grow on me by like the end of the seventh, start of the
I
eighth
no, I agree.
episode. I'm like,
I
all
think
right.
when I texted you is when he first came out. And
Same. It was just a little weird. It was like it's weird to hear. So he without spoiling anything, he plays like a little bird,
yeah,
and it was just like it was just startling to hear out of nowhere Patton Oswalt's voice coming out of a fucking bird in like a very pivotal moment in the show. You're just like,
mm,
what? Why? Why is why is that happening right now?
mm,
Yeah, I don't know. There's certain actors that just have that like voice they carry. It's like they carry that shit with them. You know what I mean? It'd be like
yeah.
seeing, like if it were to be Gilbert Godfrey. That's what like you and I
That's
were
what we
talking
want.
about. Like
Rest in peace, Gilbert.
Gilbert, but even if it had been Gilbert, it would have been the same thing as like, why the fuck is Iago in this show right now?
But
Like,
at least if it was Gilbert, it would have felt like a joke the entire time. And
right,
I think when it was Patton, it was like serious, and then it wasn't
right,
serious. It was
right,
serious the rest of the
right.
time. I was like, all right,
There
this is
was,
fine now.
yeah.
Uh, but oh, and another thing they do well, I said like instead of like regular John Constantine, this is Joanne Constantine, right? They switch a lot of like genders of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like his main librarian is it's a man in the comics, a woman in the show.
Mm-hmm.
They also like one of the characters is someone's great grandmother instead of their grandmother, right? But they do that because it makes sense. As soon as you get like timeline wise, it
Mm-hmm.
makes more sense for this to be their great grandmother than their grandmother. And it's those little details that I really appreciate.
Right.
Like it's a mark of like a great like adaptation. You don't have to copy exactly, but you pull the right things and make the right changes so that this all makes sense and it goes unnoticed. So they
It's
had a good story without my comic knowledge, and then a great story with the comic knowledge after the fact. Like
it's
I love it.
the attention to detail, you know, like
Yeah.
the whether or not they're being true to the source material. I think what's more important is the attention to detail. So
Mhm.
like in a good example where they're kind of like freeforming and doing their own thing, and it's not relevant to the source material exactly. I'm just throwing this out there, but like X-Men 1, X-Men 2, like there's plenty of changes in those original movies to the comic book. Like there's just it's totally like wild interpretation from the comics, right? They kind of did their own thing. But those movies are generally as interpreted as really good because they were solid. They paid attention to the story and they like did a good job of like making the audience not fucking wonder why this, that, or the other thing. But then X-Men 3 comes around and again, not
They're wild.
paying a lot of attention to source material, especially not at this point. But more importantly, they just kind of like threw shit out the window. There were loopholes. There were like continuity errors. They just were like you had to suspend your disbelief for all kinds of shit. Like Magneto is able to do this with his powers. Okay, and that's kind of stretching him thin. And now all of a sudden he can literally lift up like the Brooklyn Bridge. Like there were just so many things like that in that movie took it to where you're just like, all right, well they just don't give a fuck. Where as in this and movies that, you know, they take some like creative liberties from the comics, but they still are really attentive and they care about you as they're thinking not only about like not trying to deviate from their Bible, but also like, okay, we're going to have to in certain cases, how do we make it still enjoyable? And like you can tell that they're like thinking of that, right?
But even when they deviated, right, it's still like elements from the comics, and then they just do it in a different way in the show so that it makes sense, and they can cover a lot of ground for like this first season. It's like what the boys do, right? You know how the boys don't pull directly from comic, or sorry, the boys pull directly from the comic, but it's not like a comic straight adaptation.
Right.
It's just these elements, you put these in here, this all ties in and all makes sense. I think that's what Sandman did, but to me, Sandman is like a pure comic adaptation, in a way that makes sense, and in a way where they can like get away with stuff and like use characters that they can, you know, still have in there without.
Maybe the X-Men movies were like a bad example because I would say
Deadpool's a better example to me. I would say.
Yeah. No, that's a great example. Because it is, at the end of the day, for anybody who's not watched it, don't get me wrong, Sandman is very much, there's a lot of like scene for scene shit from the comics. They just have to kind of tweak things to make it make sense on a big screen. Yeah. Maybe Game of Thrones would be a better example. Like first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones versus the last 5
when they
seasons.
Didn't have a book anymore.
Yeah, when they started like fucking going crazy off their shit. But nah, even that's a bad example because Game of Thrones, the show, omitted so much shit that happened in the books. But a long story short, very good representation. Definitely watch it. They paid a lot of attention to their audience and new audiences. I will say, I don't think it's going to be a show for everybody. Like, this isn't one of those shows where I'm like, you got to get out there and watch it. I feel like you got to know your like preferred genre on this one. What do you think?
To me,
you think this is a broadly, you think take your kids, take your wife, take your grandma, everybody's going to fucking love Sandman and fluid gender Desire.
Desire's probably one of my favorite characters.
Desire's cool. I like that. I do like the casting because you can't really ever tell what like person or gender they are, and they do a really good job of that with like the makeup and the CGI.
Yes, it's amazing. But I don't, not kids. Like kids should not be watching this. Like, do not have kids watch this.
Don't.
But
don't do it.
I think like show wise, it's a very good show. Whether you know the comics or don't, like it's a very good show. Like I went in blind, watched it, and like, oh, this is amazing. And then I went back, looked at what was changed, and I was like, oh, this is still amazing. Like it's still good. Like I highly recommend it.
You got a better comic book adaptation that you can
TV
think
show?
of? Yeah, or movie. Because at the end of the day, this is a DC comic. I mean, it's like I would put this firmly in the category of a graphic novel, but
it's like Watchmen. Watchmen is like another like straight, like when you comic adaptation. That's a great comic book adaptation what was changed made sense and it was still good. Like I remember looking at the end of Watchmen in the movie and then reading the end of Watchmen in the comic. And I was like, oh, this is fine. I don't even care that they changed this. It's good. I think it's like that.
I do need to read Watchmen because I loved the
It's
movie
really good.
so much.
It's really good. It's like one to one kind of
Mm.
straight on. Like I said, Deadpool. Like I hate Deadpool because they change like Negasonic Teenage Warhead. They put her in there, but then they change her power. And I hate when they do that because there are plenty of mutants to use. Just go get a mutant that has that ability. But everything else that they did in Deadpool was like great. Like somebody really read the source material and then made a movie and went for it. What else? Shazam is another one. It's really good to me.
Okay.
If I'm staying in the DC world, Birds of Prey, Suicide Squad 2. Not one is terrible. When it's those times when you like, or Civil War, like a lot of the Marvel stuff is given for me.
We're talking about graphic novels, or at least I said graphic novels. That made me think. I think.
Oh, not just straight comics, like a true novel. Then Watchmen.
I also
Because Watchmen is like a standalone novel.
I also think I might like, maybe just for the nostalgia factor, 300 might still be like in my top tier of.
Oh
like,
yeah,
because the
301, the first one.
Oh yeah, I don't even think I saw the second one.
It's not. It's like I don't think it's based on anything. I think they just wanted to capitalize off the popularity.
Yeah, but they did it like 8 years later or something like that. Like the second 300 movie did not come out when it needed to. If they wanted to make a ton of money, they would have made that movie like 3 or 4 years later. But
really bad.
They waited a long time, and everybody was like, "What? We've moved on." Yeah, if we're talking about like interpretations from the comic, 300 was pretty fucking awesome. And that was another one of those like stylized, you know, not like a normal comic book kind of thing. That wasn't Neil Gaiman, but it was.
What, the 300?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually don't remember. I loved 300 when it came out. I don't remember who did it.
Somebody famous, Frank Miller, who did a lot of great stuff. Did some of the best Batman. Didn't Frank Miller do Batman Year One?
Oh, sorry. Oh, you meant who wrote 300? Yeah, that's Frank Miller. I thought you meant who did the movie.
Oh, that was what's his name?
Frank Miller did the. He did a bunch of Batman comics.
Zack
Like
Snyder. Zack Snyder actually did.
Oh, that's
the
why he was
movie.
getting work. That movie was great. But Frank Miller also did the Dark Knight comics. The one that the Christopher Nolan movie is based on. And then there's like 2 animated movies about old Batman. That's the one that Frank Miller wrote. And it's really good. And I wasn't talking about animated stuff, but that's another like
Going back to
great adaptation.
Neil Gaiman, who did this. He did the.
American Gods.
I was about to say controversial American Gods. I thought the first season was pretty good, but I don't know that a lot of people share that opinion, and I think it kind of goes downhill.
I loved it.
He also did He did Beowulf. He did something else. Chat, help me out here. What else did Neil Gaiman do?
Coraline.
No.
No, yeah, he did Coraline.
I know he did that, but that's definitely not what I'm thinking of. Oh, you know what? He did. I think Neil Gaiman did a run on Batman of like Old Gods or something like that. That was like really dope. What happened to the Caped Crusader? Yeah, he did some good Batman stuff. Yeah, these graphic novel guys did like some pretty famous.
Oh, did he do Lucifer as well? Or no?
My man is talented. Long story short. But Sandman, I think, is probably one of his more notable
Mhm.
works that he did. And it's a trip. It's a trip. If you're into reading something different, you're not necessarily like a comic book fan, try out Sandman. It's definitely, it's in like the comic book format kind of, but it's very text heavy. It's very story rich. It's not about like panels of people fighting each other and stuff like that. If you end up watching the show, or if you watch the show first, you will definitely know that this is not like an action show. There, the reason I think I said that, like, I don't know that this show is for everybody is because there are like long stretches of time where seemingly nothing is really happening, but it's setting up something greater, and it's some of those moments of like quiet where I'm like actually reflecting. I'm not uninterested in what's going on, but I'm like reflecting on like what is happening. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like suspense built in and stuff like that, and the comics and the show I think do a great job of like keeping you not even on the edge of your seat necessarily, because it's not like a thriller, but like you're really curious about where they're going with things. Like you want to know how it all ties together. I think the show does a really good job. Like once the flow starts to kick in of, it gets into some episodic stuff, but you're really curious about how it like ties together. The episode I'm talking about with the diner, where I was like,
Mhm.
where, how, like, I get we have some characters that we met before, but like, what are we
I love
doing?
that episode.
It was a wild
And
episode.
again,
And then the
pulled straight from the
following one,
comics too.
yeah, the every 100 years episode, like, again,
Hmm.
like, it's a very episodic thing that has like seemingly little to no correlation to the overall story, but it does when you think about it.
I feel like you really have to be paying attention as you're watching.
And
Like,
it was the same way in the comics. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that you can just go to like sit back and half watch. I think you got to pay attention to really appreciate it. So
yeah, definitely.
it's good,
Highly
man.
recommend.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you my full rating when I finish it. But right now, um, I don't know. I will say it started a little hit or miss for me, just because I couldn't find the rhythm. But now I think that I understand the show a little bit better by like episode 8. My rating has definitely improved, and based on what you're saying, I think it's just going to continue to go up once the whole. It's one of those things where like I think you need the whole picture to really rate it. So if you just watch the first episode, if you're on the fence about continuing it, keep keep going. It's definitely worth it for that whole narrative journey. Faux show. Faux show. Cool. Closing thoughts on Sandman there? Sandman
Watch it.
there? Sandman there?
Watch it.
All right, what are we talking about? What are we talking about next week? We're going to do some more news. We're going to have an acronym for the news.
Yes. Also, at that point, we'll probably give some thoughts on She-Hulk, because that comes out,
We'll talk
right?
about how it comes out. So I think our plan right now, for those of you who are listening, we're not going to do the play-by-play on episode weekly basis, because we recognize a lot of you guys, fairly enough, don't have the opportunity to keep up with the episodes as they come out, and maybe don't want spoilers. So if y'all are with us, we'll do some news stuff like we did today. We'll give you general updates. We'll try to keep it as spoiler light as possible. And then maybe just do a deep dive once the show is over. But give us your feedback. I mean, if you want to hear the play-by-play on a weekly basis, let us know. But right now, I think it just makes more sense to let everybody get caught up, and then we can recap it together as a family.
Yeah, cameos. We hear you. We care.
Cameos cares. Cameos cares.
Cameos cares.
All right. That's going to do it on this one, y'all.
Deuces. I don't got no sound effects today.